Oh,
Tit.
tit. And recording. Woohoo! First things first, this is the first little private cast thing without Jim here. So, sorry Jim, I had to go ahead and start recording without you. That had to be put out first. Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to take it over in any way, shape or form. Secondly, if you're into like Rooster Teeth and all the other content that Shifty Keys kind of talks about, this podcast might not be for you because we are going to get very heavy into Dynasty Warriors stuff pretty quickly, aren't we? I mean, also, if you're into Dynasty Warriors, there's going to be a heavy woo bias. Just saying. Just to cover all our bases. Just so that I don't have to waste a few hours. Because I keep on forgetting there are three, you got Shu and Wei. And I don't think I actively play as them after I completed the campaigns. I always go back to Wu characters. I don't know why. I think it's you. You're a bad influence, Gaff.
Probably. I mean, I can't help it. I raved about him when I was talking about the king to you.
Yeah.
Instant bias.
I mean, it could not be helped. I'm trying to think of where to start, but before we even started recording this thing, we were pretty much already on a roll with talking about Sun Shang Xiang, so we can keep that going if you wanted. When do you think she was portrayed correctly? Because in the recent games, there are many things I would change. And I know there's many things you would change as well. I've heard a lot of the changes you would make to her character.
Let me just get this out of the way first. Her name is Sun Shang Xiang, based off a real woman from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms era. And Dynasty Warriors, that's sort of what they're centered around. They're taking the story, not necessarily based on actual history. They're taking the story called Romance of the Three Kingdoms, a story that's loosely based off of history. So, Sun Shang Xiang is my favorite character from Wu. And she was my first character that I ever played when I first started playing the game at like age 9. And reason being because she was a tomboy. She was a tomboy. She wasn't attached to a man. I'm like, hey, that's me. I'm a tomboy.
She was a badass as well.
Man. Was, yeah. And she had a great voice in 3, 4, and 5.
Shout out to Michelle Ruff.
Go, Michelle Ruff. Oh, please come back. Oh, my God.
I mean, who's the new voice actor for her now? Is it I'm going to pronounce it wrong. I'm pretty sure it's G.K. Bose, but
I think that's it. Yeah,
okay.
I think that's it. It sounds right.
It's nothing against her voice acting, but I feel like after hearing Michelle Ruff's voice for it for a long time, it kind of goes from a deep, gruff kind of like a serious, deep tone, to suddenly very high-pitched for the 6th one and onwards. She's still doing it, isn't she, G.K. Bose? But she did get better later on, I reckon.
She got better, and it's just her first rendition of it. And
very high.
Very high pitched, and I want to also blame it. I'm not kidding. That's exactly what she sounded like. It sounded like a bad fan dub. Oh, God. But Michelle Ruff, she had this, it was deep, it was playful, but it wasn't she didn't sound like a little girl. And then when they completely rebooted the franchise in DW6, they got a lot of new voice actors for a whole bunch of characters. There's nothing inherently wrong with that either. But they took Sun Shang Xiang, they completely 180'd her character. She was nowhere near anything she used to be. And with that, a new voice actress, again, nothing wrong with that, until you first hear her in the first cutscene. Then there's everything wrong with that. Every teeny tiny thing is wrong with that. And she's like that for the whole game. I mean, we are gonna offer like a clip, right? We're gonna offer a clip.
To be honest, we could totally read out what she says. I'm pretty sure me and you have heard it many times. But, like, it's one of those things where you cannot blame the voice. Because it's like, yeah, the voice, we're not used to it, and it's high-pitched, and it's not what we were expecting. But it was the overall character design and her attitude, which was, directed. It wasn't like the voice actress had anything to do with that. And it was like... You've turned a tomboy and a very serious, down-to-earth character that just seemed to kick ass on a constant basis to a very dependent damsel in distress that's got a very high-pitched voice.
A puff of hair. But, geez. Okay. And again, I believe that had to do with the direction, not so much the voice actress herself, because when DW7 came around, I loved her delivery of it. It was more deep. She sounded more like a woman instead of a 12-year-old.
Instead of a little housewife?
Yep, there you go. And then in DW8, she raised her voice a little bit more, but it was tolerable. It was tolerable. I'm sorry. Geez. Voice acting is one of my other things. Like, I am a real stickler when it comes to voice acting. So, especially when it comes to my favorite characters, I'm mean.
Gaff, we could totally have, like, a complete different, like, private cast about, like, voice actors and voice acting in general, like, that's something we can do.
I'm down for that.
Definitely. But, like, I don't know what it is about 6. 6 is definitely the worst for me, and it's probably all because of that bias of, you kind of know what happens with Wu, and you kind of know how everyone reacts to things because of all the other games. And then you see number 6, and it's like it's all been spun round, because it's like, in the 5th one, I've only recently come off of playing that, so this is why I remember this pretty well. In the fight, or when they escape, is it pronounced Chibi?
Yes.
Okay, I always think it's not the right way to say it, but
Chai-bai.
Chai-bai. Yeah, when they escape from that little area and that, Liu Bei helps. And of course, in the campaign with SSX, as I think I'm going to keep on calling her, because I can never say her name right, which is ironic. Like, she kind of, like, says, cheers, thanks for helping us out. Not in those words, of course. But then, she gets on with it, she walks away, and I think they cross paths again at the end, and it's a bit dramatic. But she doesn't do what happens in number 6, where she goes, Liu Bei, I wonder what he's like. It's like, you don't care about Liu Bei, even in history. You hated him. I'm pretty sure you hated him. Your marriage was political. And, like, he was terrified of you and everything. What happened?
So I'm going to mention that one guy who has a Tumblr blog who does character analysis. I really want to put him in here because he does a great job and, like, thorough actual history research on all these people. And let me see, he's called the Arch Lich on Tumblr. And he did character analyses for all of the characters in the Dynasty Warriors franchise. And one of the things about Shang Xiang in real life is she was politically married to Liu Bei for about 2 years, max. 2 years. And During that time, she rarely saw him, and if they ever had any interaction, she had 10 armed maidens around her the entire time. She's an expert archer, so she knew, while I don't know, there's no proof out there whether she actually saw actual combat ever, she knew how to take care of herself. And to the point where she became so intimidating to Liu Bei that also Zhuge Liang, who was Liu Bei's advisor, strategist, he was kind of worried that she might lead this uprising against Liu Bei. And then once Liu Bei, betrayed Wu in their little contract over a piece of land, he didn't want to give it back to Wu. And at that point, Shang Xiang just said, "All right, I'm out. We're done. You completely destroyed why I was here in the first place. I'm happily going to go back home. Deuces." And that was that. That was literally their only interactions together.
That's what if she just literally walked out and went, "Peace. Yeah, I'm out."
Peace out, man. Get wrecked.
But yeah, it's in one game, at the end of 5, she literally fights him. Where she comes across him, and it's she exclaims her loyalty to her family, to her brothers, to Wu. And then a game later, it's fuck that. She's totally dependent on this guy, and she's willing to attack her own family and stuff like that. It's nah, I don't think that would happen for some reason. She's got some morals, surely.
Right. So in the earlier Dynasty Warriors, we'll just go in order here. While there was sort of a story, it with every expansion, they would build upon this story and try and make it more submersive as, you, the player. In DW3, while there's a story and some dialogue and some goofy cutscenes.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, the goofy cutscenes from Dynasty Warriors 3. Also gonna offer that up. Oh my goodness, it's wonderful. But that was when the franchise was still kicking off in North America. And so the voice actors, while some voice actors were good, a lot of them were just sort of shitty and amateur, but it's funny. It's fun. And,
also, sorry, as well as that, they had some weird lines to work with.
Yeah.
A dyke?
Bizarre translate. A dyke? Oh no!
How do you deliver that line? Someone goes up to you. Look, you're in, the history of China, and you're an emperor or, whatever. You have to deliver this line. And it's how do you go about doing that? Trying to sound serious. You can't.
But, so DW3, it's known for being more for comedy almost. But the gameplay was awesome and it was hard. Dynasty Warriors 3 was really hard.
Oh, yeah. I learned the hard way because at first, my first impression of the game, because it was the first one that I played off of Gaff's recommendation, was, I'll just play it on normal. That'll be fine. I knew nothing about the game. I didn't even know that health was in the boxes. And I did the tutorial level and I was like, okay, that's cool. And of course, the first person I did it with was SSX. And the boat level, that's chibi as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I keep on getting those two confused because it's Yi Ling's the later one. But yeah, there's a particular boat level in the third one, and it suddenly got really, really fucking hard. I remember how proud I was on the 8th attempt of me doing it, that I actually managed to get past that level, because I was such a noob, and I thought, normal, that would just be the way you're supposed to play the game. Oh my god, it was difficult, man. He's a guy from Wei that has a massive sword. That is going to be hard to narrow down. Dune. I can't remember his first name.
Zhahao Dun?
Yeah, he he humbled me more than once. Like, I would come across him, he would just chop me down, and I'm like, oh no, this is terrible. How am I supposed to beat this guy? I was such a noob. But it was much harder, that game. Very hard. Mm-hmm. I forgot the point we were making.
I was just sitting there. I'm like, wait a minute, why did we come back? There was a reason. I'm trying to go for structure here, and then I completely forgot what we were talking about.
We were going for order, and we were talking about the voice actors, and then how this one was so difficult. And then I kind of jumped in.
And story. So, in DW3 through 5, everyone also all the characters had their own story mode, which was pretty awesome. And in 6, some of them had their own story mode. In number 6, they were trying to focus on more of a core cast instead of giving everybody time in the spotlight. And in 4, it really improved a lot, and that's when they first got like some professional voice actors on board. And I think in number 4, there was only one Extreme Legends level with Sun Shang Xiang, so all of them had like the special level that's meant for that character. And she was escaping with Liu Bei, and the gist of that was, Wu was trying to stop her from going to Shu. I think it's all horseshit. I didn't care for it, but But the dialogue was fine. He pulled up. He was on a horse.
Pulled up in a Cadillac.
He pulled up next to her, honked his horn, and he's like, "Hey, are you fine with this? It's going to be hard for you to go back to Wu." And then she just sort of looked up into the sky, and then she's like, "It'll be fine. The truth is, I really enjoy being around you." And that was that. It wasn't, cheesy bullshit. And that was fine. I could tolerate that.
It wasn't wide-eyed every 2 seconds he's on screen that she's like about a foot in the distance, like behind him. You know what I mean? In the later game, she's always like 2 feet behind him, like he'll disappear if she's not looking.
Right. Uh-huh.
Oh, God.
So that was fine. It wasn't over the top. And then in 5, in her story mode, she does almost everything with Wu and her family, and she meets Liu Bei in a level where Shu and Wu were trying to chase down and escaping Cao Cao. I call him Cao Cao because that's the first way I heard his name. It's not Cao to me. So, Cao Cao is the leader of Wei, the blue team.
The blue guys.
He's trying to escape. Yep. And red and green, Wu and Shu, were teamed up together, and they're chasing him down to make sure he didn't escape. In that level, SSX comes across Liu Bei, and all he does is, oh, yeah, so you're Sun Quan's younger sister. It's nice to meet you. And she's like, yeah, and you're Liu Bei. It's nice to meet you. And then he just runs off again, and she runs a different direction. Yes. That's it. They go about their own business. And then in between levels, they have like these own like inner monologues, telling a story of what's been going on. And she's like, oh, so after this, my brother told me that I was going to be wed to Liu Bei. That'll be interesting. I'm kind of excited. And then drama goes down. Shu doesn't hold up their end of the bargain and give back a piece of borrowed land. And then she gets called back to Wu. She goes back home. She does some more campaigns with them. And then finally, Wu and Shu have to face off. And then before that battle, she says, I'm sorry, I kind of was looking forward to spending more time with you, but my family always comes first. And then they fight, they duke it out, and she's like, I am loyal to my father, my brother, and to Wu. You're gonna die. And then she kills him.
Yeah,
it's kind of sad, and there's a sad cutscene at the end.
I do like it, though, the dramatic cutscene at the end, because it's like...
I do, it's a good message.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, these characters in history hated each other. Yeah, cool. But the way that this was delivered was actually pretty decent, you know? Like, well, okay, they didn't hate each other. She terrified him. But in the game, that's as good as you're going to get, where she literally shows that she isn't particularly on board with all of this stuff, and you know, shows a little bit more loyalty to Wu than the later versions. Jesus. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's half my input. It's like, yeah, but the later games, oh boy. We'll get there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we'll get there. That's for sure. And in this cutscene, you know, he's dying and he takes his final breath and she's just sort of cries a little bit. And she's like, man, I wish we didn't have to be torn apart, but I will live a life worthy of your memory. And then she moves on with her life. And that's great. She doesn't throw herself in a stupid river. She doesn't sulk. She doesn't disappear from the game.
No.
Like in other expansions. She's just like, I'm going to live a life worthy of your memory. And that's cool. I'm fine with that. Right on.
That was good. And she also hurt Liu Bei. Very nice.
She stabbed him a few times.
I tell you what, like, that means if we've gone past 5, that means we're going to have to talk about 6.
It's true. 6 is up next.
Just don't. Actually, I don't know. For other people, like for people that may follow characters in Shu, maybe it's good.
That's true, because not everyone was hurt by 6.
Yeah, but the Wu side was Jesus.
Yeah, a lot of them it destroyed their character, while it made some better, like Cao Pi and Sima Yi. That really helped give them more of a personality, but then it destroyed some others, like Sun Shang Xiang.
Yeah, like Sima Yi, like in all the other games, that is one place where 6 got it right, I suppose, because in every other earlier version of the game, he's literally, to me, just like the typical bad guy. Like someone you expect to cross in Tekken, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like, he's got no personality, he's just the bad guy that you see at the last level. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, at least you actually get to hear what he's kind of like personality-wise, you know? A little bit. He's not just a mask.
And it's cool because they introduced what would be a new faction. They're called Jin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with Jin, that's basically when Sima Yi performed a coup d'etat. Sima Yi used to be in Wei. He used to be a strategist advisor, and then he led a coup, took a whole bunch of people and some power and land with him, and made his own faction. So that was cool.
Yeah. That was the purple team, right?
That was the purple team. They were like light blue.
Yeah, that's right. We are missing like the important yellow team in this. You know?
Other.
The other. But
the other.
It's got the best line of dialogue for people that like, magic! Christ, I cannot deliver it. What does he say? What's the wording of that? It's like, have a taste of my magic.
Magic! You flaming idiots!
It's like,
take this!
Take this! We're probably giving it more justice than the voice actor did, because he says magic and he stretches that word for like the entire paragraph. It's incredible. That's going way back. We're trying to keep it structured, and now I've sent it back to number 3 again.
We're back on number 3, yeah.
Oh, God. This just reminded me of the dialogue, like, you know, Zheng He, I think it is, where it's like, did you see their camps?
Yeah, Zheng He, Zheng
He, that's it. And it's like, oh, and
were they
beautiful? Yeah, were they beautiful? It's like, what the hell?
And the soldier's like, I guess they were fine.
To be honest, the character that he's talking to reacted in the most genuine way, like, I guess so, you know?
I guess.
What did he say? I don't want to piss him off, he'll kill me. Anyway, 6. Jesus Christ. Sorry, that's my bad.
No, we both keep doing it. Tangents. So number 6, here's what happened. Cowie Corporation, they basically took a long look at the Dynasty Warriors franchise as a whole, and because one of the biggest criticisms is, how repetitive it is. With every installation, it's basically retelling the same story that we've always heard. So they thought, well, how can we change this and amp it up? So they completely did away with the old combat hack and slash system and added what's called a Renbu bar. So instead of having combos, you're basically, this is me, the judgmental, biased, I hate Renbu system. I'm explaining this to you in my words. You're basically mashing square, and then once you kill enough soldiers, you unlock more combos that you can do. But the problem is, when you don't kill any soldiers, your Renbu bar goes down, and therefore your moveset gets smaller. And then there are many times where you have to run across the map and not kill any soldiers. It's like you can't afford to stop and kill everybody, and you have to get somewhere. Your Renbu bar goes down, and then you come back and you're like, oh shit, now I hit square for 10,000 years again. Go on.
Oh, sorry, I was just about to say, my connection on this side may have dropped halfway through that, but...
Oh no!
Like, it had you ranting about it, and I was like, oh no, I think I lost it. And she came back. You came back, and you were still talking about it. I was like, you know what? That gives off the same impression, I think it was when you mentioned there's a lot of space where you have to, like, travel across the map without coming across enemies quite often. So you lose, like, everything you built up. And yeah that sucks, because I can imagine in all the games, there's a lot of downtime where you're either looking at the map or like thinking, oh, I need to traverse this field, like on the complete like eastern side, just to cut off somebody else, and that may have no one across it, so you're totally going to lose any progress you made in that mode because there's no one to fight. Mm-hmm. You take away the strategy and you go, okay, now I have to come across everybody, otherwise I can't attack everyone, with a decent... That's weird. That's counterintuitive.
Exactly. And I felt you're trying to get rid of repetitiveness, and yet you sort of added more by adding more button mashing, which is another one of the biggest criticisms, I feel like, on button mashing.
Because now you have to find people to attack all the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the game. They added that, but then one of the features to sort of control a player just running to the main camp and downing the boss is your allies being reliant on you. So you can't just haul ass up there on the eastern side of the map, because then the western side of the map is going to get completely obliterated. Yeah. And that's why they make it so your allies are kind of dependent on you to an extent. So you got to balance it out. But then they had the Renbu system.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to point across. You couldn't just straight up... I couldn't deal with that. I haven't actually played the later ones, but... I've heavily invested time into watching the cutscenes because I don't have the game share. I gotta say, what was the weird one that suddenly decided this must have been one of their changes as well? It wasn't 6. I know it wasn't 6. I've heard enough of those ones. But was it 7 where suddenly the pronunciations of every character, they went from the words cow, and then they suddenly turn it into the Chinese equivalent out of nowhere, and it's it's not cow anymore, it's zao.
Yeah, that was number 7.
Oh, 7.
Yeah, that was 7. So for example, 3 to 6, they pronounce Lushun. So Lu space Xun. All this time they were pronouncing that as Lushun. And then in Dynasty Warriors 7, where they're trying to repronounce these names, all of a sudden they're pronouncing it as Lu Xuen.
Yeah.
Lower your weapon, Lu Xuen. And it's even, like, delivered awkwardly. Like, they sound weird saying it. The voice actors. They're just like, ugh, I'm not accustomed to this. Why?
Well, some of the voice actors were still there from 6. So it's like, wait a minute. I've recorded an entire script for you guys where this guy was called Lu Xun, or whatever it is. It's like, now you want me to say it, like, properly? It is weird how the realistic pronunciation, the right pronunciation, actually was a bad idea. Because they implemented it in the 7th fucking game. It's like...
Yeah, so far in. And it just sounds awkward, especially for fans like me.
Is that the Chinese way of saying it?
You're right.
Jeez.
Fans like Moo, who've been... with the series for a while, it's very awkward. Especially since we've grown accustomed to how the names are and how they've been delivered to us all this time.
For me, it's a little bit like, sometimes I might hit the right pronunciation by accident by trying to pronounce the other name, because I'm never going to get it 100% right. Oh, jeez. 7 kind of come. I don't know why. I kind of skipped 7 a little bit in my head. Because 6 was controversial because of obvious reasons for me and you. And 8 had a few talking points, like someone wearing a green outfit instead of a red one for a change. She looked like a fucking elf. But yeah, 7 kind of, like, that kind of skipped past my radar for some reason. It's like, that was one that was in between where they suddenly ironed out all the kinks with 6, like, delivery, like you said. But then, I don't know, the biggest thing I could remember from it was that the pronunciations of everyone was a bit weird. I don't know.
Yeah. 7, I was fine with 7 in that because 6 was such a big train wreck, in my opinion. When they released 7, they fixed a lot of things that I had issue with. So, for example, Sun Shang Xiang's voice. That was a lot better.
Number 1.
Number one. And they completely binned the Renbu system, and they brought back the old combat system, which is the immediate large moveset combo hack and slash. And I want them to hang on to that because it works. It's fine. Don't touch it. And
don't touch it. What are you doing? It was working. Why did you fix something that wasn't broken?
Exactly. So, and the other problem with 6, they had a lot of cloned movesets and cloned weapons. And that was the thing about Dynasty Warriors in general. Everyone was unique in their own way in that everyone had their own moveset, everyone had their own weapon, and that made every character unique in their own way. And then in number 6, a lot of people shared a weapon and they had the exact same moveset, and you're just like, I'm playing the exact same character I was playing a few minutes ago. It's just she looks different. Except this one has long hair and a different voice actress. And that's it. And that's kind of shitty. Because they also got rid of a lot of cool weapons in number 6. And that was another thing they fixed in 7. Everyone was back to mostly having their own moveset and unique weapon.
Can I ask, in 6, could you wield a bow and crossbow? Jesus, that would be an epic weapon.
Tough.
A bow and arrow for, Sun Shang Xiang.
Yeah, and that was her main weapon in DW6. They completely got rid. I can't talk today.
The chakram.
Her chakrams were gone, and they gave her the bow and arrow.
That was weird.
And when I first read that, like before I played the game, I was reading it on Cowie website. I hated her design, but I was just like, well, her moves, moveset looks neat. It looks fun. The bow and arrow, that'll be interesting because we've never had bow and arrows in the franchise yet, as far as weapons go. And suffice to say, the bow and arrow was fun. But then they also got rid of her original chakrams, and that sucked. That sucked a lot.
In honesty, though, like, that was her actual weapon, wasn't it? Like,
yeah,
actual archery and stuff was the thing that she was into. But
right,
they should have made it a side weapon, like, you've unlocked the bow and arrow, that kind of thing. Not, hey, those chakrams that you've been mowing down enemies with for the last 3 or 4 games. You just don't use those anymore. Huh?
And that was the thing they also fixed in DW7, where everyone was back to having their own unique weapon and moveset, but you could also equip a secondary weapon, while the character's unique weapon, they get more like power from it and they can do more unique stuff with it. They can still switch out to another weapon as long as they're compatible with it based on their size. Yeah. And they still do that even in 8. And I'm like, yeah, that's a nice touch. Because another thing they did in 7 was instead of their little special, that Musu thing, where they just sort of go crazy for 5 seconds, they changed that. Instead of having the player hold down circle and move during the crazy Musu special, it was basically you hit circle once, and then they release this giant attack. Like, just one big giant attack. Which was fine. I kind of miss moving around a lot, but they fixed that in 8. They brought it back alongside the whole giant attack special. But for SSX, they had her chakrams back, but then in her special, she used her bow for one of her specials. So, like, if you jumped up and hit circle, she'd yell, like, oh, witness the strength of my bow, and then she'd shoot down this giant fire arrow. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. That's a nice touch. I can imagine, like, when it comes to fucking 8. Well, soon we're expecting 9, aren't we? Is there a 9 coming out?
That is the next one up. I haven't seen any formal announcements yet. I mean, there are some articles saying, it is being worked on. It is in the works right now. And they're saying how they're going to change it again. And I'm sort of nervous about that.
Hey, yeah. I mean, it's a shame. What we're planning on doing with this podcast is release this when eventually, we always know there's a new Dynasty Warriors thing coming out. We're going to release it when that comes out. But it's a shame that we can't release it just any old time, just in case, because I kind of want people at the company to hear what Gaff's saying about certain characters and how they interact, like, just so it doesn't happen again. Because if they change 9 and it's like, oh yeah, Sun Shang Xiang is now also a part of Shu, it's like, no, you don't do that. She's a part of Wu.
I'd be upset.
Gaff wouldn't buy the game. You would lose sales, and then your employees would lose money. Satisfy your customer.
And I would go to the forums and bitch.
You would not hear the end of it.
What I think would be really cool if they base the story on actual history instead of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms books.
Yeah. Because
Romance of the Three Kingdoms is loosely based on history. Loosely. Do you have any idea how many badass characters, and like especially female characters, who most of which are just a piece of clothing for their husband to wear in the game? That'd be so cool to actually have some of these women like behave as they did in real life. That'd be so awesome, because you'd have a lot of intimidating characters in there.
I can definitely imagine, because I mean, I would just love to see a cutscene of, SSX turning up with 100 swordswomen, looking at Liu Bei and him just going, maybe that was a bad idea, political marriage or not, this is not good.
And that'd really beef up their story too, because again, another criticism is they're just retelling the same story.
Yeah.
And in 7, what they did this in 4, 7, and 8, where instead of having a character have their own story mode, they had kingdom story modes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Basically, Wu story mode. So you play as one character for one level, and then in the next level you play as a different character, but it's all on the same, path, the story mode. Oh my god, I forgot what my point was.
I really didn't like the Shu Kingdom cutscene opening, if you catch my drift. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, punch, punch, Liu Bei. I think, 2 of the characters in the crowd as well say something like, those are the faces of young people in love, or something.
Oh my god,
and I'm like, no, you don't understand. No, they're not.
Each other.
Oh my god, they want to fight. Just let them punch each other. Well, of course they don't want to fight. That's the second time I said that, but it's she knew that was entirely political, that marriage.
Yeah, it's just for some reason she just liked him. Unexplainable, and we have to accept it.
Yeah, it's grating. I know.
Oh, right. So, beefing up story mode.
Yeah.
So, there are some things about the series that with every expansion, they also add on to the cast. So, I don't know I can't give an exact number of how many characters there are in Dynasty Warriors at the moment. There's a lot now. And I think that's one of the big reasons why they have kingdom story modes instead of individual story modes, because there's a lot of fucking story. That'd be a lot of story mode.
Damn. I can imagine trying to align that shit. That would be so hard.
But
crazy.
With more characters, they're also giving... They have to invest more time to make these characters not shallow and boring. But the problem is there's so many that they can't do that. So they pick a personality trait and then just put it onto one character and they're like, okay, he's the fire attack guy. All right, moving on. Who's next? He's the guy who screams justice all the time. Who's next?
He's the pirate.
She plays the flute and loves her husband. Who's next? She also loves her husband. Who's next? She loves her husband too.
Yeah, those two are just creepy. It goes on I understand what you mean. They need more time to actually focus to give an accurate depiction of what these characters were. And that's the problem. It's a catch-22 where you're like, okay, release the next game, but pay attention to all the characters. You can't say that. You'd have to cut a few down. And you know how people react to that, where suddenly their favourite characters get cut.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no real way of satisfying everybody unless the company disappears for 5 years or 10 years and they're like, look, we got a really good game, but it was on the previous generation of consoles, because by the time they got it finished, I can imagine we won't be playing on the Xbox One anymore. We'll be looking at other shit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can see that issue. But Kingdom mode is stupid.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's cool in a storytelling kind of way, but I don't feel attached to any characters, because the crappy thing is some characters get more time in the spotlight, and there are others who you see maybe once, and then others you don't even see at all. They're there in the game, and you can play them in free mode, but they have nothing to do in the story.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of sucks. But there are two... and I think it was Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends, so it's basically like a tiny expansion onto a core number. So, like, you got Dynasty Warriors 5, and then you have Extreme Legends, and then Empires. I think you guys talked about this in the podcast a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah. So, in DW8 Extreme Legends, they introduced a character. His name is, what was his name? Zhu Ran. ZHU space RAN. And they introduced him as a sort of a rival against Lu Xun, as this young, budding strategist who's really smart. And they basically wanted a teenage rival for Lu Xun.
Yeah,
Fine. And
some bias there, Gaff, perhaps.
I guess because in previous games, Zhu Ran was this older man. They always depicted him as an older man, not this little bratty teenager. And they put him in the game as a unique model. And the first thing, every time this fucking character says anything at all in a cutscene, it has something to do with a fire attack. Just, that's it. Fire attack. So,
fire attack.
The first cutscene you see him in, so you got Lu Meng, Lu Xun, they're all in a circle, and they're talking about how to go about this next battle. And all of a sudden, Zhu Ran just walks over, and he's like, "Hey, I know all about fires. Oh my gosh, when I set someone aflame, it just gives me the willies." And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? What the fuck is this? And then every time he spoke afterwards, he's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm about to set you on fire." I'm just like, I'm done with you. Your moveset is fun, but you're boring. You're boring and shallow.
Even the Fire Nation from Avatar wasn't that shallow. Oh, Jesus Christ. I can't imagine...
So lame.
I can't imagine being the voice actor, you know. Your character literally has an obsession with fire. Okay.
Yeah, like noted. In a concerning kind of way. Like, this is some crazy psychopath shit we got going on here. But no one cares. They're just like, yeah, he likes fire. All right.
He loves fire, if you know what I mean. He loves it.
Like a lot.
He delivers the line and the director's just like, yeah, that's good and all, but like, we need a bit more, like, he's about to fall in love. Like, 20% more. He's infatuated by it. It's like, nah! Fire!
And another key example, and I remember I sent you the video to this level a couple years ago.
Oh god, you send me videos all the time about Dynasty Warriors, though.
I know. So I know. You got your pick of the litter. And so it had to do with Ma Chao, and he's this warrior on Shu, the green team. And he was really cool in the earlier games. What else is new? And and he's the guy who they pretty much took away his personality and they switched it from revenge against Cao Cao to justice. And justice is so ambiguous, it can mean several different things, but he can never define it. He just shouts justice. And every time someone says that word, he just comes out of nowhere and he's like, did somebody say justice? He just busts through the wall. And you can sway him either way. So there's this level. You play as like Peng Tong or something, who's fucking awesome. And you're fighting against some guy who's against Liu Bei. And Ma Chao is on the enemy side. And there's a cutscene with Ma Chao, and he's just like, I plan to deliver justice to this world, you know, some bullshit like that.
Of course.
And then Peng Tong just says, now listen, you, Liu Bei has justice in mind for this world. It may not be the exact same view as you, but it is a true justice. And then Ma Chao, this is his response. You speak of justice too? Then I relinquish my service to my current lord, and I'll serve you. That's what he says. Like that easy.
No, I fucking remember that now, because it's like literally the next like action in the game is that he fucking changes his like...
He defends! It's just like, you speak of justice, I'm with you.
You could be spreading butter on, a sandwich, saying, you know what, I got a great sense of justice in this, and he just stops everything he's doing, and he's like, wow, really? Shit, we need to talk about that. Defects from the war. Christ.
God, exactly. Just completely defects, abandons his family, his high income job, abandons all that.
It was all for justice, though. Gaff, you do not understand.
It was all for justice, and I don't get it. What is justice?
It's just so funny, like, those quirky bits from the early games still come out, and, they still come through in the later ones, don't they? Especially that. Yeah. What I'm gonna do... I think we should end it up with questions, but not in the typical Shifty Key way of doing questions, because we don't know when this will come out. But I've written up some questions. Hopefully you can answer this, and it won't take another hour, because this kind of stuff can take us another hour to go through. What is your favourite characters and why? And I'm going to say male and female, because I'm pretty sure I know your favourite female character.
Yeah. My favourite female is Sun Shang Xiang, because she was the first character I played ever in the series, and I really identified with her when I was younger, because she was a tomboy, and I was just like, yeah, I like this. And, there's obviously that attachment to the first character we ever play in a video game.
Of course.
Right. And with every expansion, I felt I was able to, grow with her, and then she went to shit. But I still cheer for her. I'm still hoping she comes back to me.
She'll be there eventually, yeah.
Come home, Shang Xiang. Come home. And my favorite male character... probably. Oh, it's very close between Zhao Yun and Lu Xun.
Oh, don't lie to yourself. I think I know which it is. I don't want to be that guy that guesses, but I think I know which one it is.
Yeah, it's Lu Xun, just because Definitely. I ship the shit out of him and Shang Xiang.
I remember a few years back, that would be it. It's like, so, what's your favourite, other characters to play as? And he would be, the first one mentioned every time. Yeah. So, it's pretty obvious. For me, the favourite female character is obviously the first one I came in contact with as well. Even before I played the game, because of Gaff's influence.
Genji! Your favourite female is Genji?
No. There's a question specifically relevant to her. No, with SSX, it was the first, almost like the gateway character to anything to do with Dynasty Warriors. So she was my favourite character, female character. Favourite male character, on the other hand, is Gan Ning. Because he's a fucking pirate, and he's a badass, and I know in history, he's actually a sick bastard, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he is a grade A asshole.
But there was something in, the very early stages when I was playing all the different characters and stuff, when you're scrolling through all of them. Of course, these are all new people, they could be just anybody, but, he was the one that stood out to me, because it was oh wait, he's completely different. He's literally a pirate, isn't he? So it's huh? I can get behind this kind of guy. And he wasn't someone that does this whole justice thing all the time. So that's why I was behind him. That's probably why. Well, though I can get behind him being oh yeah, not being a justice kind of character. He was an asshole in history, but that's kind of why I liked him in the game, that he wasn't one-dimensional. Then again, he is kind of one-dimensional, because he's a reckless bastard. Anyway, moving on. I don't think you explained besides shipping the two characters, why you like Lu Xun. I think I said his name wrong again. God damn it.
Initially, it was mostly because of that reason. There was a lot of, especially in the earlier games, he and Shang Xiang were always like teamed up together or with each other in campaigns. They shared a lot of campaigns together and they fought alongside each other. So whenever I would be SSX, I always had Lu Xun there, who was, you know, he was an AI, but he was fighting alongside me because that was just the setup of the game. And, you know, as a kid, I was just like, ooh, I want them to get together and get married, have the babies, but later. And then I played him, and he had a really fun moveset, and I liked his character in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next question.
Here we go.
Who, and it doesn't matter which gender, who is your most hated character in the franchise?
It used to be Genji when I was a kid, because she was such a snot in the earlier games, especially number 3. She even sounds like a snot. Do you remember how... Well, probably not, because you didn't play as her. I doubt you would have touched her.
Oh, God, no. Well, no, I think I played as all of the characters in the early games, in 3 and 5. But her campaign may have been with, like, rage-induced haste, if you know what I mean. Like, I was just like, yeah, let's get it over with, girl. You know?
Yeah, when I was younger, it was her, because, and this is so interesting, so, she had this rivalry, I can't talk today, rivalry.
A rivalry.
Rivalry. So, she had a rivalry with SSX, and so there were many unique cutscenes where they came across each other, and Genji shot an arrow at her.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Shang Xiang is just like, it was you, and then they started duking it out. And same thing in number 4, they had a rivalry in this dopey little movie thing that you can edit, which was really fun, but they would look at each other and see who could chop fish the fastest. And Shang Xiang being a hothead, she was chopping really quickly and broke the table. And so that was like a thing. And then to add on to that, my cousin, she would play the game with my brother, and I would watch, like, in envy. Again, I was like 9. So I'd watch in envy because I wanted to play. And she would play as Genji while he would play as Zhao Yun, which was his favorite character. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, it's supposed to be me and my brother playing Zhao Yun and Shang Xiang. And so I'd get jealous. So, but yeah, I didn't like her because she was such a snot. Like, even whenever you would kill an officer, your character would announce, like, I defeated an officer, an enemy officer defeated. She would say it like this, I defeated an officer. It's just so snotty.
I think they made her character that way, which, you know...
It's very sophisticated, kind of...
upper class.
Bratty, look down on you, beneath my shoe character. And I really liked her in number 5. Another reason is because Michelle Ruff also voiced her in number 5 as well. But she was cool. I really liked her. A strong female. While she was about her husband, like, she was still cool, you know?
Yeah. But you said that this wasn't your hated character.
Right. And I think...
I think I know what it is now. Is it Liu, by any chance? Is it Liu Bei?
You know...
I envy you. Christ.
It's hard to say that because I don't mind Liu Bei's character, but I don't want to hate him just because he is at the heart of why Shang Xiang is a problem now. Him as a character, I don't mind. Let me think. Xiao Qiao would annoy the shit out of me. She annoyed me a lot. The younger Qiao twin.
Oh god, yeah. Fucking... It's...
The fans.
Like, they added those in quite late, didn't they?
They were in Dynasty Warriors 3.
They were?
Yeah.
Christ, I seem to like explicitly remember them from cutscenes like in the later games, and I'm like, why were these two added again? Like, almost like genuinely asking that. Like, what did they actually do in history? Like, I had to look it up.
Nothing. They just needed a wife next to two very important male characters, Zhou Yu and Sun Ce. And that's literally their personality is wife of husband.
What's your role in the game? You know, I'm a warrior. I'm his wife.
I'm a wife.
No, little housewife.
I'm here to hug arms and be cute and get pats on the head.
I still find it ironic that, like, Shang Xiang's, like, big speech at the first cutscene that she has in 6 is, I want to be a warrior, not a little housewife. And she delivers it with the highest pitched voice. And it's like, God. Oh no, it doesn't sound threatening at all.
And what does she do in the game? What does she do in the game?
She becomes a housewife.
A housewife who almost kills her brother for a man that she barely knows.
Yeah.
God. That's love. That's love right there.
That's love, everybody. Now everybody hold hands. God. For me, the most hated character, and I think Gaff gave it away a little bit earlier, is Zenji. And it's not really anything personal. Like, you had a good list of reasons. You had the whole, you know, like, she's snotty, you know, she's stuck up, and she's SSX's rival. And at first, I completely forgot about that. Because a few years ago, when I was playing Dynasty Warriors, I would often play on Skype, well, with Skype open, and playing alongside Gaff. And it was weird because it's a single player game that's not online. So it was like...
it wasn't online at the time.
Gaff would destroy the level and like wait for me to catch up because I'm such a noob. And I think you turn away for like a grand total of 10 seconds. And I was doing pretty well. Like there was nothing wrong. The health was up, you know. I think there was only a few officers left. And then Zenji comes out of nowhere and air juggles my ass into a wall and then air juggles me again. And like it immediately kills my character. And I just sit there and I go, Gaff, nothing happened. And you're like, like, it's like you didn't even react at first. And I was like, Gaff,
I know.
Nothing happened. And she was like, what did you do? I was like, it wasn't even me. She just... It was a very...
I didn't do anything. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I was like, I had full health. I was prepared for anyone. And she just air juggled me. And I just couldn't... Like, I was done. And... I think what hurt the most about that was, like, it was a particularly long bloody campaign, that one, or that mission. And it was like, out of all the people to fall to, it had to be you. Because I understood that she was supposed to be her rival and this, that, and the other. Fine. That's her character. That's cool. What's not cool is completely exploiting the game so I cannot counter you or block you or move out of the way or evade any attacks.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty gnarly. I haven't had anything like that happen to me again because I stay away from the walls now. Like when I play the game.
Yeah, you really don't want to be cornered. You want to be out in the open. Because air juggling is... I mean, that is a way for AI to kill you in the game. They can just keep you up in the air. You can't you have a hard time countering. One thing that they did to help that, though, is, when you, say you get flung in the air, and then you double tap, R1, and then your character sort of, feigns a little bit, and then you can double jump. So when you're up in the air, you could sort of, rush yourself forward. That way you can sort of get out of being in an air juggle. So it could still happen, though. And especially if you're on chaos mode and they hit hard, you're dead in seconds.
Yeah, but that move that you described there, that sounds like you need a hell of a lot of timing and this, that, and the other. That was when I was a noob.
Oh, I know, yeah.
It
was really hard to do that in EW3 as well. Double jump.
I hated that. But, you know what? She's not a bad character. It's just a personal thing.
Yeah.
I think I've got one more question, and then we can pretty much wrap this up. 1 second. That ironic thing where it's on the other page, so I had to kind of turn it, and I had both my hands in use, because I'm holding a pop filter. I don't have a stand for it. Push to talk at the same time is difficult. What got you into DW in the first place?
Oh, it was my parents bought the game as a birthday gift from my brother, and it was a birthday gift from my brother, and it was number 3, and we just played it like crazy. We instantly fell in love with it.
Huh?
One of the things that really helps is co-op mode, so we played 2-player and just stormed the battlefield. But yeah, it was a birthday gift from my brother, and that's what I had never heard about it before, but apparently he did. So there you go.
My answer's pretty quick as well. It's a 1-word answer. Gaff. In all honesty, when it comes to DW and that, I knew of it. I knew it was like a hack and slash kind of game that was based on history. But a few years ago, before I met Gaff, I had no idea anything about the game at all. I had no desire to really play it. Because I just thought it was generic hack and slash, no story. I thought that was what it was. It was just historical characters with no context, and they fight. That was it. I did play Kessen, which was another kind of game. I think that was produced by the same company. I'm not sure.
I can't remember.
Kessen was weird. But I do remember a lot of the cannonades that I could get going on that thing, which was just an ultimate attack. But yeah, I think it just became a natural thing. On Skype, we would talk about stuff, and then eventually, I think it was through the route of talking about voice actors. I can't exactly recall because it was so long ago. And we were talking about voice acting and voice actors, and I think Michelle Ruff was almost really how you linked Dynasty Warriors into a conversation, and that was it. I opened the gateway for you to just give me all this information, and I was like, oh, actually sounds pretty cool. Why haven't I actually looked into this shit?
And that was the cool thing, that you allowed me to go on this huge rant about Sun Shang Xiang, who's from a game that you didn't know much about, and the fact that you heard me out says a lot in itself.
I was just well, it must be something that's very important to you, because you very rarely rant about stuff, and then it was there's this gaming character that's pissed me off, and I'm like, okay, I'm all ears. What's going on? I was like, how does that happen? And yeah, inadvertently, you got me addicted to the bloody game. Admittedly, I'm just a fan more of mashing buttons and stuff, and I'm way behind you in all the history stuff, because as it's clear on the podcast, you know a lot more about this than I do. But yeah, it's still a really fun game that's killed a lot of stressful time at uni and stuff. You got to relieve some stress, You can just go on the old chibi route and fight on some boats.
Chibi route.
Yeah, it's weird that that's how it's actually pronounced. So yeah, I think we can pretty much wrap it up unless you would like to add anything else. I don't think we even spoke about Wei, except for like Sima Yi and Zenji. Yeah, so if people were listening to the podcast and they like Wei characters, sorry.
And I have nothing against Wei. As a matter of fact, with especially the latest games, I do always play their story mode as well, and I do like them. It's just, they're not my favorite, but I dig them.
You dig them. They're probably better than Shu in your eyes from a certain perspective.
I like Shu. Yeah, oh my god.
That's
I like Shu, but I don't know. They're... Whatever. We've said it all.
Oh, the audience that's been listening, they know. They know our opinions.
They sure do. If there's one thing that I'm really surprised we didn't mention, the music.
The music is excellent. Like, every single soundtrack so far is very, very good. The menu music from the third one, I think it's called Rhythm Box, is my favourite song still.
Rhythm Box, yeah.
I don't know why, but it's almost like this grungy underground kind of house beat to it, you know? And that being said, I do love the guitarists in it. They get the epicness on cue.
Uh-huh.
But like, there's something about that beat that I just love, and I don't know why.
From number 3, I can't remember.
The credits music.
I feel like the credits music, yeah. I think it was called Circuit. Yeah.
Circuit, that's it, yes.
In Dynasty Warriors 3, at the end of every story mode, the characters would get a mildly unique, they just changed the places of some characters. It was this big sort of musical cutscene. It was a very pretty song. It's called Circuit. And one of the female characters would be singing this song and dancing. So it's like you go through all this hell, and then your faction just has this nice party, and it's so nice. You're just like, yeah, this is good. After all the hell we just went through and people we killed, we're having a party.
And doesn't it also show at the end when the party finishes, like all the characters that were like
who
officially
died,
like they're killed off now, and it flashes their faces across the top of it, and it's like, oh damn, the imagery is
in memory of them. Yeah. That was sad, but the thing that they did in 3, if you hadn't played those characters yet who died, that's when they would like show them like in memory of those who died in the campaign. And then once you finally did play that character's story mode, then they would no longer appear as if they died. In that little in memory of thingy.
Oh, so they changed their fate. They're like, oh, they must be alive. They're in the party.
Yeah, they're at the party. They're having some meat buns.
Oh, God. I love it. I'm so glad I got to do this. Everyone else in the Shifty Keys won't give a damn, but I do. Alright, I think that's all for now. I would love to continue talking about it, but we'll probably go over the same points again. I definitely, for the future, want to do like a voice acting one.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But yeah, until next time, bye-bye. I don't know how Jim finishes these.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And Jim, thank you for having me and letting me record this. You're the best.
The best.
You're the best. Did you want to say tit so we can end this?
Tit.